you. Hi, how are you? Yes, it works. Everybody still awake? It's the afternoon? All right, good crowd. That's good. Good start. Yes, I'm here to speak about being small amongst giants, to be operating in a small market where global giants are taking a bigger and bigger share. I'm going to talk about 3 challenges that we've had and then 3 focus areas that we've kind of tried to have solutions with. But this is not a new problem. We've heard about this today as well, and even there's a book from 2011 that Norigin published where I got my title from. So this is still relevant if anybody hasn't read it yet. But I'm here because we are still figuring this out. We still need to be sustainable in a changed landscape. And I'm also here because I'm kind of on a mission. I'm on a mission to solve these challenges and find new opportunities in them. But why is it a mission of mine? I need to tell you a little bit about myself so you know where I'm coming from. This is me. I've worked in media companies in 3 of the Nordic markets, Norway, Finland, and Iceland. And I moved to Oslo in 2011, and I started working for Viaplay. Of course, then it wasn't called Viaplay, it was MTG, and then it was Nordic Entertainment Company, and then it was NENT, and then it was Viaplay. And then after several years there, I moved over to Warner Bros. Discovery, which was called Discovery at the time, and then it changed. That's the nature of our business. And there I was looking after the streaming platforms, and I worked both in Norway and in Finland. Then during COVID, I moved back to Iceland, and now I work for Scene, which is a telco and media company, Vodafone and Channel 2. But in all of these 3 markets where I worked, they have the same problem, scalability. The investment needed in running a platform, creating and acquiring content is increasing. And the investment cost is the same if you have 10,000 or 1 million subscribers. There's also the fact that the global players are entering the market and gaining a bigger market share. This means they're taking more subscription revenue, ad spend revenue, and smaller companies, local companies, need to adapt. We see that some companies try to expand to new markets, others merge, but if that's not an option, what can you do? What should you be focusing on? So that's what I'd like to kind of discuss with you today. Some of you know a lot about Iceland. Some of you have been to Iceland, like Norigin Media did this year. Others not so much, so I'm going to start with some facts and figures. Population, around 384,000. We always round that number up, not down. We actually do have more sheep than people in Iceland. But unfortunately, sheep don't buy mobile and TV subscriptions yet, so that's an issue. Households are around 131,000. We have 130 volcanoes. None of them are active at the moment, but just wait a minute. And we have 13 Santa Clauses. The Icelandic landscape is quite simple. 3 main players. First, you have RUV, which is the public broadcaster. They have TV, radio, and news. But they're also on the advertising market. So there's a public broadcaster on the advertising market. Siemens is a telco and media company. They have a TV service and are distributors. Siemens is actually the oldest telco company in Iceland, and it was previously government-owned. Then you have Scene, which is a telco and media company. On the telco side, we partnered up with Vodafone, and on the media side, we have entertainment and sport channels, streaming service. We were actually the first commercial TV channel in Iceland from 1986. We also have several radio stations, news outlets, and a marketplace. But there are some advantages of being small. I mean, these are the main players. There's a couple of more in the market. So the advantages are these numbers here. Weekly reach of all of RUV medias is 87%. Weekly reach for Seamin is about 55%, and weekly reach of all seen medias is 94%. That's nice. That's good to have. All of these here are content creators as well as acquiring entertainment and sports rights. Now, moving on to the changes and the challenges that we've had in the Icelandic media landscape. There's an increase of international TV and film production, as you can see. Well, this is positive, right? This is good. This has come from, there's an increase in the rebate. It's 35%, up to 35%. And global studios, big studios come to film the unique landscape. Of course, this is very positive for the TV and film production business in Iceland. And you can see here some of the ones. You can actually take a tour in Iceland if you go and see all the locations. But this is challenging for the local media companies because there is more competition for the production crew, both in time and in salaries. There's more competition on the rebate fund because that's a limited amount each year. And at the same time, there is more competition from global media companies entering the market. So it's increasingly important for local media companies to produce local content to be able to have a competitive advantage. Then it's the advertising market. It's been hit by global players as well, social. This graph shows the total advertising market and how advertising spend has shifted between the local players, which is the light, and the global media companies. The local companies in 2022 had 54% of the total market, which has decreased slightly since then. This is a big change, and during this period, there are several local companies as well, media companies, that have gone bankrupt. So there's fewer players in the market. Of course, with this, even though there's not a graph, there's a similar situation with the subscription. Of course, people are also subscribing to the global players. The government has come with some subsidies for the local media companies, but it's a little bit too late, a little bit late, in my opinion. It's kind of putting a band-aid on a problem, not really fixing it with real legislations. But I'm sure you know that governments take a long time to change, so I'm not going to stay on that point for too long. Lastly, another thing that we've talked about today is piracy. We are the winners in piracy. I don't like saying that, but I think we are. I think Sweden is the closest to us with 28%, but we are just above 30%. That's quite a, because we talk about the hole in the bucket, that's quite a big hole in the bucket. Culturally, in Iceland, it's completely normalized using illegal IPT services. It's not just the younger demographic or students, it's your grandparents, your uncle, whoever, even people with good income. This is a very damaging development. There is a discussion in Icelandic news media earlier this year. They were talking about grocery stores. Oh, it's terrible. In grocery stores, there's like 1.5% of the groceries get stolen. 1.5%. 30% of my product gets stolen. No company would accept this. So this is, of course, a big focus of ours, and I'll talk about it a little bit later, what we're doing. Fortunately, in Iceland, we are quick to adapt. We are small, so we can adapt quickly. It might be because of the unpredictable weather or that volcanoes keep erupting. But yeah, we adapt to changes quickly. I'd like to stand here and say to all of these issues, yes, I have a single solution for you, but there's no single solution. There's several, and I'm only going to talk about 3 today. In the beginning, I was talking about scalability, and as you saw with the numbers, scalability is very limited in Iceland. We have a limited audience, and the advertisement is getting smaller. So some days at work, it feels like that. I don't know if you can relate. But one thing we're doing is more co-productions and more shared content rights. Sports rights, for example, increasingly more expensive. That's some good way to lower the cost is sharing those rights. This is not something new either, but this helps keep the cost down while still keeping the quality up. We feel it's a crucial role for us as a local media company to preserve and promote local culture and to keep a local identity. Local media serves as a cultural guardian to producing and broadcasting content that reflects the language, values, and local stories. So this is not something new, but I would say the conversations that we're having in co-producing and collaboration have increased and more in depth. Another thing is to reduce operational costs for the telcos have gone into infrastructure partnerships, such as the transmission towers. The Icelandic population is small, and 2/3 live in the Reykjavik, the capital area. It's of course important to reach the whole population over the whole country, and places that are difficult to reach with very few inhabitants can be expensive. So it helps to partner up for those and lower the cost. We can also see this in other markets where we share the infrastructure cost. Examples of collaboration is, for example, I think they were here last year, NLSeat, where a Dutch online streaming platform offers content from the largest Dutch broadcasters. They are an example of how broadcasters in smaller markets are collaborating and combining resources to their advantage. I think that in smaller markets like Iceland or the other Nordic countries, there are more opportunities for this. We should collaborate, and we are already starting projects like that in Iceland. And then there's partnerships in the Nordics. So earlier this year, we joined Nordic Content Protection, NCP. As you saw, we are the winners in piracy, so you might think that we haven't been fighting it before, but we have locally. We have a special company or a party that is fighting this, but with the government and the legal or the police not really responding, it's been very, very difficult. Since joining NCP this year, we have already won our first civil lawsuit, where NCP contributed to the case with Norwegian, Swedish, and Danish court rulings, so that our solicitor could use that in the civil lawsuit. The offender was sentenced to 60 days suspended sentence in order to pay 1 million Icelandic kroner in legal costs. This is the first ruling of its kind in Iceland, so it was a milestone. We also had a seminar in the beginning of September about piracy, where all key stakeholders in Iceland attended, and NCP was the key speaker, among others. This was to both educate the stakeholders and show the effects of piracy. We managed to bring the local stakeholders together for the first time. There's been mentioned before that there's a Nordic marketing campaign that NCP is doing, and we are also a part of that, and we'll be launching that in the next few weeks. So in this particular matter, having a Nordic partnership has been crucial for us to be able to get the results we need. I really hope that in a year or two, if you come to speak to me, I can tell you that we are no longer the winners in piracy. That's our aim. Last year, we also partnered up with Viaplay. This partnership is on several levels. It's a hard bundling, which is kind of the normal commercial partnership. But we also took over all of Viaplay's sport production in Iceland. We already have a full sport production in our infrastructure, so adding the Viaplay sport events wasn't really a big thing. It was much more economical for both parties if we would take them over. We also established a specific linear channel for the sports events that Viaplay owns, for those rights. That's an added value for both us and Viaplay. And then we share the rights of the Icelandic national football team. So it's a partnership around sales, around content production, content distribution, and content rights. So it's a really win-win situation for both parties. We've seen an increasement in engagement and in sales, and we're discussing further partnerships. So I think for the Nordics, there are more opportunities in these kind of partnerships. It doesn't have to be one thing, it can be on several levels. We need to think bigger for small markets. We need to use the local expert skills and have bigger conversations. We need a platform for these conversations, and an event like Northern Waves is a great example. So thank you, Norigin Media and the sponsors, for hosting us today. But in conclusion, big or small, we have many of the same challenges. We have explored together that for Iceland, we have the increase of international TV and film produced in Iceland, the advertising spend shifting to global media companies, and the increase in piracy. We've also explored our focus areas and opportunities, which is co-production and shared content rights, shared broadcasting infrastructure, and partnership with Nordic neighbors. It is necessary for broadcasters, local broadcasters, to cooperate. Innovation and partnerships are key to thriving in a globalized media environment. We need to pool our resources together, create shared value, and ensure the future of local media. We are stronger together. Thank you.